Hey guys, it's Josh, and welcome back to Cross Zone. So today I'm going to do a little bit of Christian athletics history. That's the history of Christians in sports in eras and times and centuries that came before ours. And I don't know if I'm going to turn this into a series or not, but I'm going to make this video and see where it goes. So, with that said, did you know that the majority of the Christian world considered participation in sports to be a sin? And the reason for that, I mean, for most of Christianity, so from the times of Jesus on to about the 1500s, it's 1500 years, Christians considered really any involvement with sports to be a sin. A lot of people don't know that, but it's actually true. Now, you might find little sects here and there that didn't fit with the mold or whatever, but for the most part, that was the case. Now, what this stems from is the sports in ancient Rome. You know, back in the days when Jesus was roaming the earth, and afterwards when Jesus died and the apostles were running around the Roman Empire trying to convert people to Christianity, they had a lot of sports in ancient Rome. Now, most of these sports weren't necessarily bad in and of themselves, but the problem is that at the sporting events, a lot of times the loser of whatever game was subject to a really horrible fate. A lot of times it would be death, and a lot of times it would be having their heads chopped off in front of the entire Colosseum, or having some flammable object thrown on them and having them set on fire for having lost the contest. Right? They also had sports that were just downright cruel in and of themselves. People who were locked up in jail and prison, they would, for sport, they would have them fight mountain lions in the Colosseum. So they put them in the middle of the Colosseum and release a couple mountain lions on them. And then the guy, the criminal, whatever, would have to try to fight off a couple of mountain lions. And of course, he's not going to win that contest. So, in the early days of Christianity, the majority of sports had a very sadistic and brutal and bloody element to them. And when they were just brutal in general. And this is why you see in the Bible where Paul says, do not participate in their sports and their games, for they do evil things over there. That's what he was talking about. I can't think of anything more evil than a Colosseum of 35, 40, maybe 50,000 people cheering loudly as a human being gets eaten up by a lion, or gets his head chopped off, or gets set on fire, or something like that, right? So that's the image of sports that most Christians had in their mind. Now, Paul was not saying that all sports are bad, just that in that era, this is how they participated in sport. So, as time went on and people started taking over church duties, other people came along after the apostles passed away, Augustine, Constantine, and the rest of them. They generally had an attitude that sports are evil, and, when questioned if you can play sports without doing something violent or inhumane to somebody, their answer would be no, because it would always end up leading to that. They thought that the spirit of competition that lived inside human beings were so fierce that, yeah, it might start out as friendly competition, but it will end up with games such as we saw at the Roman Colosseum. So this is what Christians believed up until about the 1400s, 1500s, somewhere in there. And that's where this whole muscular Christianity thing started to come along. And I'll do a whole video on that another day, I think. But basically, a group of Christians rose up that started to believe that, hey, being athletic and keeping your body in shape and playing in sports, it's actually a pretty God-honoring thing to do. Doesn't God say to love your body? Sports help build your body and keep your body healthy. So, a sort of a new attitude towards sport within the Christian world was born. Now, it took a while for the majority of Christianity to accept sport. I mean, this was just getting started in the 1500s, and people faced a lot of opposition for this. But from that point, as the years went on, the centuries went on, we've now gotten to a place where very few Christians think that playing sports, competitive sports, is a sin in and of itself. Now, there's a handful of Christians that do. There's a handful of Christians that say, well, the Bible doesn't really teach us to be competitive, so given that sports are competitive, they're a sin just because of that. And I mean, I can see their point, but being competitive in a game is a whole different thing than being competitive with somebody in the workplace to the point where you step on their toes or spread a false rumor about them so that you can get the promotion in your company instead of them, right? That's a whole different thing. Playing to win a game, that's not sinful as far as I can possibly tell. You know, just to look at it through just an honest lens. But yeah, for the majority of Christian history, the first 1,500 so years of it, sports were viewed, 99% of the Christian world viewed sport as a sin. Competitive sport. I mean, you could run and jog and do stuff like that, but as far as any competitive sports, anything that would resemble, you know, a basketball or football or anything like that, that was all considered sin by the majority of Christianity for 1,500 years. That's what I got for you guys today, guys. Thank you.